She tried to hate him, but every day he gave her one more reason not to. The restraints bit into Donovan Cross's wrists as he slammed his shoulder against the cargo hold's access panel for the third time. Sparks showered from the damaged circuit board, but the door refused to budge. 3 weeks of studying the lock mechanism during feeding times, and the damned thing still wouldn't cooperate. Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor outside. He'd run out of time. The door hissed open. Aeris Talamir filled the doorway, her blue skin darker in the red emergency lighting, white hair pulled back in a warrior's braid, those amber eyes locked onto him with predator focus. "Attempting escape violates our transport agreement, human," she said. Donovan straightened, chains clinking. "We had an agreement? Must have missed that while you were knocking me unconscious." She crossed the space in 3 strides, grabbed his shirt, lifted him onto his toes with impossible strength. She held him suspended, studying his face. "Fear," she said. "Your kind always shows fear when they realize how outmatched they are. Maybe I'm just not very bright." Her lips pulled back, revealing sharp canines. "Or maybe you think humor will save you. It won't." She released him. He landed hard against the bulkhead, but kept his expression neutral. Aeris circled him slowly. 3 weeks to the penal colony at Xerxes Station. 3 weeks you will remain in these restraints. 3 weeks you will contemplate what happens to mercenaries who accept contracts in Sendari territory." She stopped in front of him. "Do you understand, or shall I simplify further?" "Your galactic standard is excellent," Donovan said. "The condescension comes through perfectly." Her backhand snapped his head sideways, split his lip, blood copper hot on his tongue. "You are cargo," she said. "Cargo does not speak unless spoken to." Days blurred together. She came twice daily, once with food, once to check restraints, never spoke beyond necessary commands, professional to the point of mechanical. But Donovan watched how she moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, watched her fingers trace certain controls with something close to affection, watched her stand at the viewport during off hours, staring at stars like she was searching for answers they wouldn't give. On the 5th day, he tried conversation. "How long have you been hunting?" She didn't look up from the meal pack. Cargo does not speak. "Been doing this job 8 years myself," he continued. "Started after the military. Private sector pays better for the same work." She shoved the meal pack into his hands. "Eat?" "The Sendari serve a higher purpose, though, right? Bringing order to the frontier. All very noble." Her eyes narrowed. "Mock what you cannot understand, human." "Not mocking, genuinely asking." He took a bite. "Your people have a reputation. Must be comforting, believing you're the good guys." "We do not need belief. We have proof." She turned toward the door. "Our civilization spans 200 worlds. Yours barely holds 20. "Fair point," Donovan said. "We're messy, emotional. I've heard the speech." Yet you hear it and learn nothing. By the 12th day, he'd mapped her entire routine. Knew when she slept, when she ran diagnostics, when she practiced combat forms. Graceful, lethal movements painting violence in the air. The first impact came during her practice session. Donovan's head cracked against the bulkhead. Alarms shrieked. The second impact threw him sideways, restraints cutting deep as his weight yanked against them. Through the door, weapons fire, Aeris shouting commands. A third impact and the wall behind him exploded in sparks and molten metal. Pirates. The cargo hold door burst open. Aeris rolled through, plasma burns scoring her armor, blood darker blue than her skin, running from a gash along her ribs. She came up firing back into the corridor. "Seal," she screamed. The door tried to close. A concussion grenade bounced through the gap. "Down!" Aeris hit the deck. The grenade detonated. Smoke filled the hold. Through the haze, shapes moved in the corridor. 3 hostiles in mismatched armor. Aeris was on her back, weapon 5 feet away, one hand pressed to her bleeding side. She tried to rise. Her leg buckled. The first pirate entered, weapon trained on her. "Sendari huntress, fine prize." The second spotted Donovan, human prisoner, bonus. They didn't see Aeris reaching for her boot knife. She threw it. The blade took the first pirate in the throat. He went down. The second pirate fired. The bolt caught Aeris in the shoulder, spun her around. She hit the deck and didn't move. Donovan stopped thinking. His bound hands grabbed the chain connecting him to the bulkhead. The restraint system had one weakness. It held someone pulling away, not someone pulling toward the anchor point. He pulled himself forward, creating slack, rotated his wrists. The mechanism clicked. 6 inches of freedom. Enough. The third pirate stepped over Aeris. Donovan's chain wrapped around his neck from behind. The man clawed. Donovan held on, counting seconds. The pirate went limp. The second pirate turned. Donovan grabbed the unconscious pirate's sidearm, fired twice. Center mass, the pirate dropped. The fourth pirate in the corridor ran. Silence crashed down. Donovan stood there, chest heaving, hands still bound, surrounded by bodies and smoke. The ship's alarms continued shrieking. Aeris wasn't moving. He crossed to her, dropped to his knees. Her breathing came shallow, rapid. The shoulder wound had cauterized, but the gash in her side was deep. Without treatment, 20 minutes, maybe. He stumbled to the forward cabin, found her medical kit. Back in the cargo hold, he applied emergency foam to her side wound. It expanded, hardening as it mixed with her blood. Coagulant patches on the shoulder. He checked her pulse, thready but present. The ship lurched. Something in the engine compartment was grinding itself apart. Donovan pulled himself to the cockpit. The tactical display showed catastrophic damage. FTL drive offline, navigation failing, life support at 60% and dropping. 3 hull breaches venting atmosphere. He sealed what he could, rerouted power, shut down non-essential systems. 20 minutes later, the alarms stopped. The ship was stable. Mostly. He made his way back to Aeris, sank down beside her. His wrists were bleeding where the restraints had cut during the fight. Her eyes opened slowly. Amber irises struggled to focus. She tried to sit up, gasped, fell back. "Easy," Donovan said. "You took a plasma bolt and shrapnel. Stay still." She turned her head toward him, processed the situation. Her hand found the medical foam, traced its edges. Her voice came rough. "You saved me." Seemed like the thing to do. Her gaze went to the dead pirates, then back. "You had your chance. You could have escaped." "Ship's damaged. We're stranded. Life support is marginal." He leaned back. "Besides, I don't let people die when I can help it." Aeris stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. Her hand moved to her weapon, found only empty deck. Donovan nodded toward it 5 feet away. "It's there if you want it. But the FTL drive is completely offline. We're stuck here until I can jury-rig enough systems to limp somewhere. That'll take both of us." "You expect me to cooperate with my prisoner?" "I expect you to want to live." Her jaw tightened. She tried to sit up again, made it this time, breathing hard. She looked at the foam on her side, then at him, then at her weapon lying between them. "This changes nothing," she said. "You are still my prisoner." "Fair enough. I am still a Sendari huntress. You are still human cargo." "Understood." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she reached out, not for her weapon, but for the medical kit. She pulled out antiseptic and bandages. "Your wrists are bleeding," she said. "Give them to me." Donovan extended his bound hands. She worked in silence, cleaning the wounds, wrapping them with surprising gentleness. Her fingers brushed against his pulse point. When she finished, she still didn't reach for her weapon. 3 weeks to Xerxes Station, she said quietly. Perhaps now it will be longer. Probably a lot longer. She closed her eyes, leaned her head back. "Then we should begin repairs. Tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Donovan agreed. They sat together in the damaged hold, surrounded by debris, the ship groaning as it drifted through the dark. Neither moved toward the weapon lying between them. She tried to hate him. She'd built her entire life on hating what he represented. But he'd saved her life when he could have let her die. And that gave her one more reason not to hate him at all. Aeris woke to the steady hum of repair work and the acrid smell of burned wiring. Her side throbbed where the shrapnel had torn through, but the pain was manageable. She sat up slowly, every muscle protesting. The cargo hold was empty, except for sealed body bags. Donovan was in the cockpit, hands moving across the console with surprising confidence. The restraints were gone. He could have run, could have taken her weapon and finished what the pirate started. Instead, he was repairing her ship. She retrieved her sidearm from the deck, checked the charge. Full, he hadn't touched it. Aeris moved to the cockpit doorway, weapon held loose at her side. Report. Donovan didn't turn. FTL drive has a cracked manifold. Can't repair without a dock. Navigation computer is functional, but stellar charts are corrupted. Life support is holding at 62%. We're stuck until we can plot a course to the nearest station. Which requires your security access. The navigation core won't let me run calculations without command authorization. He finally turned. His eyes went to the weapon, then back to her face. No fear. You removed your restraints, she said. Release mechanism was damaged in the fighting. They were cutting off circulation. You could have left me. We covered this already. He gestured to the console. I need your help. You need mine. We can work together or die here. Aeris studied him. His hands were steady despite the bandages. His voice carried no challenge, just pragmatic assessment. She holstered her weapon. Show me what you need. They worked in tense silence. She provided access codes while he interfaced with systems that should have been beyond human comprehension, but his fingers moved with practiced ease, coaxing damaged circuits back to life. You've worked on Sendari ships before, she said. Worked on most ship types, engineering principles are universal. Impossible. Our technology is decades ahead of human systems. Donovan pulled up a schematic, pointed to a junction box. See this power coupling? You use tetravalent flow regulators. Humans use hexavalent. Different approach, same result. Your method is more efficient, but the underlying physics doesn't care about politics. She wanted to argue, but the schematic proved his point. Where did you learn this? Military Engineering Corps, then 8 years hauling cargo through sectors where you can't afford proper repairs. He glanced at her. Spent time on a salvage crew that recovered a damaged Sendari cruiser. Studied the systems while we stripped it. That is illegal. So is capturing humans in neutral space, but here we are. Her hand went to her weapon. His attention stayed on the console. I'm not trying to provoke you, he said. Just stating facts. We've both done things our governments wouldn't approve of. Aeris's jaw tightened. She wanted to hit him, to reassert control. But he'd saved her life, had treated her wounds, had done nothing to harm her despite every opportunity. The navigation core is accessible, she said finally. They worked for hours. She provided authorization, he implemented solutions. Systems came online. Environmental controls stabilized. Sensors mapped their location. The stellar charts slowly rebuilt themselves. During a calibration pause, Donovan tossed her a meal pack. She caught it reflexively. You should eat, he said. Your body needs calories to heal. I will eat when I choose. He shrugged, unsealed his own pack. But her stomach betrayed her with an audible growl. She opened the pack, ate in silence. When she finished, he handed her a water pouch without comment. She took it, hated how thoughtful the gesture felt. Why? She asked. He looked up. Why what? Why save me? You could have escaped, killed me, taken my ship and disappeared. Instead you stayed, repaired my wounds, fixed my vessel. She leaned forward. Human behavior is supposed to be self-interested. You should have let me die. Donovan set down his empty pack. Would you have? Would I have what? Let me die. If the situations were reversed, if I'd been the one wounded and you'd had the chance to escape, would you have left me? The question struck deep. She wanted to say yes immediately. But she thought of the dead pirates, of how her first instinct upon waking had been to check if he was harmed. That is different, she said. I am a Sendari huntress. We have codes, honor. And I don't? You are human. Which means I lack honor? Lack codes? He met her eyes. I was a soldier before I was a mercenary. Served 12 years. We had codes too. Leave no one behind was the first one they taught us. Guess it stuck. But I am your enemy. You're a person who was bleeding out. Everything else seemed less important in the moment. Aeris stared at him. Every word her instructors had spoken about human nature crumbled against the simple reality of his actions. A proximity alarm chirped. Donovan turned to the console, pulled up the sensor display. We've got company, small craft approaching. Aeris moved beside him, studied the readings. Pirates, the crew that attacked us, checking for salvage. Can we fight? Weapons are offline. Even if they weren't, I'm in no condition for combat maneuvers. Then we hide. He pulled up the debris field map. There, that destroyed freighter. We can tuck behind the hull plating. Shut down to minimal power, we'll read as wreckage. She wanted to argue, but pain radiated from her wounds and his plan was sound. Do it, she said. Donovan's hands flew across the controls. The ship drifted into the debris field, maneuvering thrusters firing in precise bursts. He nestled the interceptor into the shadow of the broken freighter, then shut down every non-essential system. The cockpit went dark except for passive sensors. They sat in silence watching the pirate vessel approach on the dim display. It passed within 200 meters, circled the area where they'd fought. After 10 minutes, it moved on. Neither of them moved for another 5 minutes after it disappeared. That was good flying, Aeris said quietly. Thanks. She became aware of how close they were in the darkened cockpit, his shoulder almost touching hers, the warmth of him in the cold air. She shifted away slightly. We should restore power. Agreed. Systems came back online gradually. Aeris checked the navigation calculations. There is a neutral trading station 4 days from here at sublight speeds. We can reach it, make repairs. 4 days together. Think you can manage not shooting me? She almost smiled. Almost. I make no promises. They worked into the ship's night cycle. When Aeris's hands started shaking from exhaustion, Donovan noticed immediately. You need rest, he said. I'll monitor systems. I cannot sleep with a prisoner unsecured. Then don't think of me as a prisoner, think of me as temporary crew. That is not how this works. Aeris. The sound of her name from his lips stopped her. You're wounded, exhausted, and we're 4 days from safety. You need sleep or you'll collapse. The reasonable tone, the lack of threat, it reminded her of how her instructor spoke. Direct, honest. She stood slowly. The crew quarters have a bunk. You will sleep there. I will secure the cockpit. Works for me. As he passed her in the narrow corridor, their shoulders brushed. She felt the warmth of human skin through his torn shirt, smelled something underneath the blood and smoke, something distinctly him. She tried to hate him for making her feel anything at all. She couldn't. Morning brought the artificial chime of the ship's environmental system cycling to day mode. Aeris found Donovan already awake in the cockpit, a half-empty coffee pouch in his hand. Didn't know you kept human rations, he said. Emergency supplies, most species can metabolize it. She moved to the command chair. He stood immediately, giving her the seat without being asked. The small gesture of respect shouldn't have mattered. It did. Communication array is back online, he said. Just finished the repairs. Aeris pulled up the system's display. Everything showed green. 3 days of working side by side and they'd restored nearly full functionality. Only the FTL drive remained offline. Then I should contact my command, she said. Arrange for extraction at the trading station. Donovan's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. Right, back to being prisoner and captor. That is what we are. If you say so. She initialized the communication system, preparing to transmit on Sendari military frequencies. The computer began cycling through available channels, searching for the strongest signal. Transmission broke through, not Sendari, human. Anyone receiving, this is refugee vessel Meridian's Hope. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. 23 souls aboard, including children, requesting immediate assistance. Coordinates. The voice cut off, background noise suggested weapons fire. A child screamed. Aeris's fingers flew across the console, triangulating the source. They're close, 2 hours at our current speed. Can we help them? Help them, she stared at him. They are humans, likely fleeing from justice. They said children, families. Human criminals often travel with families. It means nothing. Donovan's jaw tightened. Listened to the transmission again. She replayed it. The voice was female, terrified but controlled. In the background, definitely children crying, and the weapons fire sounded like Sendari plasma rifles. My people are enforcing law, Aeris said. These humans entered our territory illegally. Your people are hunting refugees. You do not know that. Then verify it. Contact your command, ask them about Meridian's hope. Aeris hesitated. Something in his tone made her uneasy. But she initialized the secure military channel, waited for the encryption handshake to complete. This is Huntress Talamir, vessel designation 74 Alpha, requesting information on human refugee vessel Meridian's Hope, currently under engagement by Sendari forces in Sector. Huntress Talamir. The voice that responded was Commander Vekrin, her direct superior. Your vessel was listed as destroyed 3 days ago. Explain. Pirate attack. I survived. Currently operating on emergency power, en route to neutral station for repairs. A pause too long. What is the status of your prisoner? Vekrin asked. Secured. We are cooperating to reach the station. Another pause. Talamir, transmit your exact coordinates immediately. Something in his tone triggered alarm instincts. Sir, I was inquiring about the refugee vessel. Forget the refugees, they are being handled. Transmit your coordinates now. That is an order. Aeris glanced at Donovan. He stood utterly still, watching her face. Sir, the human prisoner assisted in repelling the pirate attack and repairing critical systems. He has been cooperative throughout. The prisoner has seen too much of our tactical operations during the engagement and repairs, Vekrin said. He cannot be allowed to reach neutral territory. You will execute him immediately and transmit confirmation. The words hit like a physical blow. Sir, that violates our own protocols. Prisoners are guaranteed trial. Protocols are flexible in matters of security. Execute the prisoner, Talamir. Transmit coordinates for extraction. These orders come directly from High Command. Her hand trembled over the controls. She'd spent her entire life following orders, believing in the system, trusting that Sendari justice was absolute. And if I refuse, she asked quietly, then you are complicit in security violations. Both you and the prisoner will be eliminated as acceptable losses. Our patrol vessels are already sweeping this sector. We will find you. The connection terminated. Silence filled the cockpit. Aeris stared at the blank screen, her world tilting on its axis. Acceptable losses. They'd thrown her away. After 15 years of service, after dozens of successful hunts, after bleeding for them, she was acceptable losses. I'm sorry, Donovan said. She turned on him. You knew they would do this. I suspected. When you're useful, any government loves you. When you become inconvenient, you're expendable. Human, Sendari, that part's universal. This is your fault. If I hadn't what? Saved your life? He didn't raise his voice. If I'd let you die, none of this would be happening. You're right. Want me to apologize for that? Aeris stood abruptly, turned away. Her chest felt tight. Everything she'd built her identity on was crumbling. Her people, her code, her purpose, all of it hollow. Pretty words covering ugly truths. The refugees, she said. What did you mean about your people attacking first? 3 months ago, Sendari warships hit a human settlement on Epsilon Tertius, agricultural colony. No military presence. They claimed we were building weapons facilities, which was a lie. Killed 300 civilians. The survivors scattered. That cannot be true. We do not attack civilians. Contact your command again. Ask them about Epsilon Tertius. She wanted to refuse, wanted to cling to her certainty. But Vekrin's voice echoed in her memory. Acceptable losses. She pulled up the incident database, searched for Epsilon Tertius, found the report, read it with growing horror. Weapons facility destroyed, minimal casualties, the report claimed, but the casualty count didn't match. 347 dead. The report called them insurgent collaborators. Listed their ages. 23 children under 10 years old. Children. They lied, she whispered. They always do. That's what governments do when the truth is inconvenient. Aeris looked at the coordinates for Meridian's Hope. 2 hours away. 23 souls, including children, running from Sendari warships because they'd survived a massacre her people had committed. Her people who had just ordered her execution. She pulled up the navigation console, began plotting a course. What are you doing? Donovan asked. What I should have done from the beginning. Her fingers trembled as she worked. Thinking for myself. They are going to kill those families, children who have done nothing wrong except survive. She met his eyes. I cannot allow that. Your people will hunt you, you'll never be able to go home. I have no home, not anymore. She finished the course, plotting, but those refugees still have a chance. We can give them that. Donovan moved to stand beside her. We'll need a plan. Your ship is damaged. We can't fight a Sendari patrol. No, but we can outmaneuver them, guide the refugees through the debris field to the trading station, create false signatures to split their pursuit. Risky. You have a better idea? He smiled, actually smiled. No, I'm just surprised. Yesterday you wanted to turn them over. Yesterday I believed my people had honor. Today I know better. She initiated the course. The ship's engines hummed to life, building thrust. Today I choose to act like they should have, with actual honor. As the ship accelerated toward Meridian's Hope, Donovan placed his hand over hers on the console. The touch sent warmth up her arm. For what it's worth, he said, I think you're making the right choice. The choice that may kill us both. Those too sometimes. She didn't pull her hand away. They flew toward the refugees together, toward Sendari warships and almost certain death, but for the first time since waking from her injuries, Aeris felt like she could breathe. She'd tried to hate him, tried to see him as her culture demanded, primitive, unworthy, less than her. But he'd shown her what true honor looked like. Not blind obedience, not convenient lies, just choosing to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, regardless of species or politics or personal cost. And that was one more reason she couldn't hate him at all. The refugee vessel appeared on sensors, a battered transport barely holding together, emergency thrusters firing erratically as it tried to evade pursuit. 2 Sendari patrol craft flanked it, plasma cannons charging. They're preparing to fire, Aeris said. Donovan's hands moved across the weapons console. Our systems are limited, 1 good shot, maybe 2 before we're depleted. Then we make them count. She pushed the throttle forward. The interceptors screamed toward the patrol craft, alarms blaring as targeting systems locked onto them. The lead Sendari ship broke off, turning to meet the threat. This is Patrol 7-9, a voice crackled over the comm. Unidentified interceptor, stand down immediately. Aeris opened the channel. This is Huntress Talamir. The refugees are under my protection. Disengage. A pause. Talamir, you were reported destroyed. Explain your presence. I'm explaining nothing. Leave them alone. You are interfering with lawful operations. Stand down or we will open fire. Donovan cut the connection. They're not going to listen. The lead patrol craft fired. Aeris rolled hard, the plasma bolt scorching past their hull. She came about, lined up her shot, fired. Her bolt caught the patrol craft's starboard engine. It spun away, trailing debris. The second patrol craft engaged, larger, better armed. Its first salvo hit their forward shields, dropping them to 30%. We can't take many more, Donovan said. The debris field, if we can lead them in, they'll break off. Too risky for ships that size. Not if they think they can finish us quickly. She dove toward the field, the patrol craft following. Debris pinged off their hull. She wove between broken freighters and shattered stations, using every trick she'd learned in 15 years of combat flying. The patrol craft stayed close, too close, its weapons charged. Now, Donovan said. Aeris cut thrust, spun the ship 90 degrees. The patrol craft shot past, unable to match the maneuver. Donovan fired at point-blank range. The bolt punched through their engineering section. The patrol craft's engines died. Meridian's Hope, this is Talamir, Aeris transmitted. Follow my course exactly. I'm guiding you to the trading station. You're Sendari, a woman's voice responded, suspicious and terrified. Yes, but I'm done hunting you. Follow me or die here, your choice. A long pause. Understood, we're with you. They navigated through the debris field, the damaged refugee vessel struggling to keep pace. Aeris monitored sensors constantly, waiting for more patrol craft. Clear so far, Donovan said, but they'll have called for reinforcements. The station is 6 hours away at this speed. We need to move faster. The refugees can't. Their engines are barely functioning. Aeris pulled up the transport's specifications. If we could boost their power systems, we'd need to dock and transfer energy. That would leave us vulnerable. Everything leaves us vulnerable, At least this way we move. She brought the interceptor alongside the transport, extended the docking clamp. The magnetic seals engaged with a shudder. Donovan was already pulling up the power transfer protocols. "This will drain our reserves," he said. "Then we better make it count." They worked in synchronized silence. She rerouted systems while he managed the energy flow. The refugee vessel's engines flared brighter, their speed increasing. Halfway to the station, new contacts appeared on sensors. 3 ships, Donovan said. Sendari destroyers moving to intercept. Aeris calculated vectors. They'll reach us in 30 minutes. Can we outrun them? Not while supporting the refugees. Then we fight. With what? We're nearly depleted. Donovan studied the tactical display. The nebula, 2 minutes off our current course, dense enough to scatter their sensors. Dense enough to kill us if we miscalculate. You're a Sendari huntress, best pilots in known space, right? She almost laughed. You're insane. Been told that before. Aeris adjusted course toward the nebula, a roiling mass of ionized gas that made navigation treacherous and sensors useless. The refugees followed without question. The first destroyer fired as they entered. The bolt went wild, absorbed by dense particles. Inside, visibility dropped to nothing. Sensors showed only static. "Flying blind," Aeris muttered. "You can do this." His confidence steadied her. She flew by instinct, feeling the ship's responses, reading subtle fluctuations in the nebula's density. Behind them, the destroyers followed but couldn't target effectively. They emerged 20 minutes later, the trading station finally visible, a neutral port where Sendari law didn't reach. The destroyers held position at the nebula's edge. They wouldn't violate neutral space. "Meridian's hope, you're clear," Aeris transmitted. "The station will grant you asylum." "Thank you," the woman's voice cracked with emotion. "I don't understand why you helped us, but thank you." Aeris watched the transport limp toward the station, carrying its cargo of survivors. "We should dock too," Donovan said. "Get proper repairs." "The Sendari will be watching. The moment we dock, they'll know our location." "So we keep running?" "Until we find somewhere safe." She set course away from the station, toward the vast emptiness between systems where ships could disappear. Donovan began securing systems. Aeris felt exhaustion pulling at her. 3 days of constant tension, of fighting and fleeing. "Life support is stable," Donovan reported, "but the forward compartment took damage during that last engagement, hull breach. I can patch it, but we'll need to seal off that section while I work." "How long?" 2 hours, maybe 3. They sealed the forward compartment, retreating to the crew quarters. The space felt impossibly small with both of them inside. Donovan began pulling tools from the emergency kit while Aeris checked their course. The adrenaline was fading now, leaving her aware of how close he stood, how his presence filled the small space. "You didn't have to come," she said quietly. "When I decided to help the refugees, you could have stayed silent." "Could have," he agreed. "Didn't want to." "Why?" He set down the tools, turned to face her. "Because you were making the choice I hoped you'd make. The choice that proved everything I'd started to believe about you." "What have you believed?" "That you're not what your culture tried to make you. That underneath all that training, you're someone who gives a damn about doing what's right, even when it costs you everything." Her breath caught. "You barely know me." "I know you risked your life for refugees who mean nothing to you except that they're innocent." He stepped closer. "I know enough." The space between them felt charged. Aeris's pulse hammered. She'd been trained to suppress attraction, to view it as weakness. But the way he looked at her, like she mattered, made her want things she'd never allowed herself. "This is inadvisable," she said. "Probably. We are different species. Notice that. My people will hunt us both. They're already hunting us." Her hand came up, touched his face, traced the scar along his jaw. His skin was warm. His hand covered hers. "Tell me to stop," he said. She didn't want to. Instead, she pulled him closer, her lips finding his. The kiss was tentative at first, then his arms came around her and uncertainty vanished. They moved together in the dim light, armor and clothing falling away. His hands traced her skin with reverence. She explored the differences between them, his warmth, his strength, the way he responded to her touch. When they came together, it felt inevitable, like every moment since he'd saved her life had been leading here. Their bodies found rhythm despite the newness. She gasped against his shoulder as pleasure built. He held her like she was precious. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the narrow bunk, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. His fingers traced patterns on her back. "No regrets?" he asked quietly. "Many regrets. This isn't one of them." She felt him smile against her hair. "What happens now?" "We run, we survive however we can." "Together?" She lifted her head, met his eyes. "If you'll have me, I have nothing to offer." "Sounds perfect." This time when she kissed him, it was slower, deeper, full of promises neither could guarantee, but both desperately wanted to keep. Outside, stars wheeled past. The ship carried them toward an uncertain future. But wrapped in warmth and possibility, Aeris felt something she'd never expected. Hope. Dawn cycle brought reality crashing back. Aeris woke to find Donovan already dressed, studying the navigation display with a frown that made her stomach tighten. "What is it?" she asked. "Sendari search grid. They've expanded the pattern, covering every station within 10 light-years." She pulled on her armor, moved to his side. The display showed a web of patrol routes, tightening like a noose. "They're hunting the refugees." "They're hunting us. The refugees are already safe. Then we go further out beyond their jurisdiction." "And live how? We need supplies, fuel, repairs." He looked at her. "Eventually we have to stop running." "I know." She studied the map, calculating options. "There, Epsilon Station, independent colony, no Sendari presence, 3 days if we push the engines." "Can we make it?" "We have to." They set course, pushing the damaged interceptor to its limits. The ship protested every acceleration, systems groaning. Aeris monitored everything: fuel consumption, structural integrity, the sensor net searching for pursuit. Donovan worked beside her, coaxing extra performance from failing systems. They'd fallen into easy rhythm, anticipating each other's needs without speaking. On the second day, the pursuit found them. "Contact," Donovan said. "Sendari destroyer moving to intercept." Aeris checked their position. Still a day from Epsilon Station. Too far to run. They'll overtake us in 40 minutes. "Can we fight?" "Not a destroyer, not with depleted weapons." She pulled up tactical options. Nothing good. The destroyer outgunned them in every category. "There," Donovan pointed to an asteroid cluster. "Dense field, we could hide." "They'll scan the entire field." Eventually gives us time." She altered course toward the asteroids. The destroyer followed, closing distance. They entered the field with minutes to spare, weaving between tumbling rocks. Aeris found a hollowed asteroid, probably carved by miners decades ago. She tucked the ship inside, powered down to minimal systems. "They're scanning," Donovan whispered. The destroyer moved through the field methodically, searching, getting closer. "If they find us, I'm not surrendering," Aeris said. "I won't let them take you." "Same, I'm not letting them take you either." She looked at him in the dim emergency lighting. 3 days ago, she'd been ready to deliver him to a penal colony. Now, the thought of losing him felt unbearable. "I never expected this," she said. "Any of this." "What, being a fugitive with terrible odds?" "Finding someone worth being a fugitive for." His hand found hers. "Yeah, that part surprised me too." The destroyer passed within kilometers. Its scanners swept their hiding spot. Aeris held her breath. The destroyer moved on. They waited another hour before emerging. The destroyer was gone, searching deeper into the field. "We need to move now," Donovan said, "before they double back." They pushed the engines harder. The ship shuddered, protests becoming warnings. But Epsilon Station grew closer. On the third day, something in the engine compartment exploded. Alarms shrieked, temperature gauges redlined. Aeris killed the main drive immediately, switching to emergency thrusters. They were still 6 hours from the station. "Can you fix it?" she asked. Donovan was already pulling up diagnostics. "Maybe. The coolant system ruptured. I can bypass it, but the engines will overheat quickly. We'll get 30 minutes of thrust before they melt down." 30 minutes isn't enough. No, but if we drift most of the way, use the 30 minutes at the end, we might make it. They shut down everything except life support. The ship went dark and cold. They drifted through space, momentum their only asset. Hours crawled by. Aeris and Donovan sat together in the crew quarters, conserving body heat, watching the station grow closer on passive sensors. "Tell me about Earth," she said. "Why?" "Because I've spent my life believing humans were inferior. I want to understand what I was wrong about." He was quiet for a moment. "Earth is messy, beautiful and terrible and chaotic. We argue constantly, can't agree on anything. But when it matters, when there's a disaster or threat, we come together, we protect each other. Like you protected those refugees. Like humans do, like you did once you saw past the propaganda." She leaned against him. "What will we do after we reach the station?" "Find work. Merchant ships always need crew. We make enough to survive, keep moving." "That is not much of a future." "It's a future, more than we had yesterday." The station was 3 hours away when new contacts appeared on sensors. "Sendari patrol," Donovan said. 4 ships, scanning everything approaching the station. We can't outrun them. Then we bluff. He opened a communication channel. "Epsilon Station, this is independent merchant vessel requesting emergency docking. We've suffered engine failure." A pause, then station control responded. "Merchant vessel, you're cleared for emergency dock, Bay 7, sending a tug." The Sendari patrol moved closer. 1 ship broke formation, approaching. "This is Sendari patrol, merchant vessel. Transmit your registration." Donovan improvised codes, fake but convincing. "Transmitted. We're running on backup power only. Request you maintain distance." The patrol ship slowed. Suspicious, checking the false codes. The station tug emerged, magnetic clamps extending. It latched onto the interceptor, began towing them toward safety. "Merchant vessel, your registration is not validating," the patrol said. "Must be a database error," Donovan replied. "We can resolve it once docked." The tug pulled them faster. The patrol ship matched pace, weapons charging. They crossed into the station's defensive perimeter. The patrol ship stopped. Sendari vessels couldn't enter without permission. The tug continued, pulling them into the docking bay. The airlock sealed, pressure equalized, they were safe. Aeris sagged against the console. That was too close. Story of the past week. They gathered their few possessions, prepared to disembark. On the landing pad, station security waited, not to arrest them, but to process emergency arrivals. Donovan handled questions with smooth lies, while Aeris stood beside him, hood covering her distinctive features. Hours later, they found a cheap room in the station's lower levels. 1 bed, a single viewport showing stars beyond. "We made it," she said. "We did. Now what?" Donovan pulled up a datapad, showed her ship crew postings. "We find a merchant captain who doesn't ask questions, work our way toward the frontier, build something new." She looked at the postings, then at him. Together. Together. Outside, Sendari patrol ships circled the station, searching for fugitives who'd already disappeared. But inside their small room, Aeris and Donovan planned their future. Not the future she'd been trained for, not the one she'd expected, but one they'd chosen, built on trust and sacrifice, and the decision to protect the innocent. She'd tried to hate him, tried to see him as her enemy, as less than her, as something to be delivered and forgotten. But he'd given her reasons every single day not to hate him, had shown her honor when her own people had none, had treated her with respect when he had every reason for revenge, had stood beside her when she chose right over easy wrong. And in the end, those reasons had added up to something she'd never expected. Love. She kissed him as stars wheeled past outside. 2 warriors from different worlds, bound by choices that had cost them everything and given them something far more valuable. Each other. A future built on their own terms. And the freedom to forge whatever came next, together.